Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Um, this is going to be, I think, a huge video to do with stuff to do with Charlie Kirk. I at least am going to their Turning Point YouTube channel. They're just losing it over there. They have no views. And they have a couple of videos we're going to get to here at some point. I think Candace Owens is going to also put up a video bashing them, I think, because she's been gone for a bunch of days. And I think somebody told me that she's going to unload a bunch of stuff today. They have a couple of videos up. One, assassination culture on full display at the No Kings protests. They're actually like working that stuff. You know, Charlie Shekels was the worst. I mean, he was, working for the Pharisees. He was, the opposite. He was a Judas. And there's another video. Elementary school teacher mocks Charlie Kirk's death at No Kings protests. That one got 40,000 views. The other got 34,000. And I got a long comment to get to from a person trying to convince me that the No Kings thing was a good thing. Like I can't wait to get to that. I can't wait to get to all of it. It's going to be great. So that's the one comment. Some of the comments I'm going to read at the end of this video. And so we'll see how all this plays out. I probably won't start making this thing totally till tomorrow. But I had a few things I wanted to talk about here. I had one comment and sort of a weird thing that was a kind of a realization for me from my past experience with some other truther who's now dead. And I want to talk about that. But I was realizing the other day I started to want to hear this old song, Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider. Tom Cochrane. And for some reason, that song just popped in my mind. And I know the reason now, but I didn't then. The song is like an old sort of rock song. So I listened to it. And I'd always kind of wondered, or I started to wonder if it was about, the so-called elite, right? That the elite is the lunatic fringe. I'll read the lyrics in just a second. But then I think it was last night on Monday night or the day before I was watching a football game, and they played the song, not the lyrics, but the music. And I'm like, well, there must be a reason for that shit, right? Why would they take such an obscure old song and start playing it? And so I decided to find out what the song was about. The song Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider, also known as Tom Cochrane and Red Rider, is a powerful anthem and a warning against extremism, intolerance, and the resurgence of hate in groups. Here's a breakdown of the meaning. The core theme, fighting against hate, anti-Semitism and fascism. Songwriter Tom Cochrane has stated that he wrote the song in the late 70s after becoming deeply concerned about an alarming rise of anti-Semitism and other forms of hate and extremism. So it's really about anti-Semitism. People say they'll say that other shit because, like, you hear the ADL and some of these other groups. They care about one thing. They care about anti-Semitism. In fact, when they started to see that other groups were getting more love from the people, remember this happened with the George Floyd things and all that other stuff. The ADL pushed out and said, "Hey, look, people still hate us, right? We're still victims here, right?" Historical inspiration. He's specifically inspired by reading a book by Raoul Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat who saved tens of thousands of Jews in Nazi-occupied Hungary during the Holocaust. This historical context provides the dark, vigilant insurgence of the song. The final solution the lyric contains the chilling line against the final solution, which is a direct reference to the Nazi plan to genocide of the Jewish people, reinforcing the song's anti-fascism. No, it's anti-genocide message. No, it's not either of those things. It's anti-Semitism. It's the everybody hates Jews and you guys are all lunatics for doing that. The meaning of lunatic fringe was popularized by U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt refers to members of a political social movement hold eccentric, fanatical, or extremist views. In the song, Lunatic Fringe represents hate groups and extremists who operate in the shadows. You're in hiding. You hold your meetings. And there was something, I looked this up on ChatGPT on my phone last night, and I'm using Gemini now, but ChatGPT said something about this. The song came from Canada, and there were some things that triggered this guy to think there was a rise of anti-Semitism. This is like the 1980s, right? So, I don't remember. I was in high school at the time, so I wouldn't follow the news, but I don't think Canada had a big anti-Semitic problem back then, right? Like, this is a constant theme for this particular group of people. And, so instead of being a truther narrative, it was saying that, it's just basically talking about crazy conspiracy theorists. People who are in power, and then they call anybody who questions them a lunatic fringe, right? This was Theodore Roosevelt saying that. Like, when people were like, hey, you're doing corrupt things. Oh, the lunatic fringe is after me. And so this was, a way to bash people who are seeing the truth. There's always hate people. There's definitely hate groups, but they're like individual people, small groups of people. And they're not, you'd only catch on if you do stupid shit that provokes like a whole, mob. And that's something different. Like people who are, just hateful and prejudicial. But, usually solitary in their hate and not really able to do anything about it, impotent. Mostly these hate groups are just, moron losers who can't do anything about it. But here's the lyrics. Lunatic Fringe, I know you're out there. You're in hiding, and you hold your meetings. I can hear you coming, and we know what you're after. We're wise to you this time. We're wise to you this time. We won't let you kill the laughter. What are you laughing at, bro? Lunatic Fringe, in the twilight's last gleaming. This is open season. But you won't get too far. So what does that mean, you're open season? They're hunting you or you're hunting them? Because you've got to blame someone for your own confusion. We're on guard this time against your final solution. Oh. We can hear you coming. Know what you're not going to win this time. We can hear the footsteps. We hear the footsteps way along the walkway. Lunatic Fringe, we all know you're out there. You can feel your resistance. You can feel the thunder. Oh. So there's a reason they're playing this song right now. For the obvious reasons that are going on with this awareness of a parasitic relationship between the United States and Israel. And, there's a paranoia in the leadership of the Jewish people. Because, you have, these so-called Zionists. You have different kinds of people in every group. My videos are for people who are like me. We're an underrepresented group of people. We don't have representation because we're a small fraction of the population, but we're not like a group of people that exist in one demographic. We're a group of people that exist in every demographic. People with spiritual tendencies, people with a different way of viewing the world, like whatever it is, right? Whatever kind of, they say that there are souls from different parts of the universe or different parts of the etheric world that are part of soul families, that are part of an orientation, and you connect with these people, that you have some resonance with. And, people who just see the world in a certain way. They're a different orientation to the planet. And we have that. And I feel like this is, a place for a small percentage of the population that doesn't get a lot of, whatever. Just like me being dyslexic, like dyslexic people. It's not that we're like fucked up or something, I mean, there's a different learning style. And I find that my dyslexia has helped me in various ways, certainly pattern recognition, other things. And so, it's not a disability, it's a different learning style that's not appreciated or there's very little known about it, and they don't really help you with it because it's our other education system is wired in a different way, right? There's all these different learning styles. So there's people like me in every group, and that's who I make my videos for, because there's lots of dumb fucks out there. There's lots of varying groups, and so there's people like that in the Jewish community. There's people like that in the Muslim community. There's people like that in the Christian community, in every country around the world, in every demographic. And those people find this channel or don't, and even if you do find the channel, you might not like it because we're not a friendly group of people necessarily. We're not whatever. But in that, you have the people that are in charge of the Jewish community and the Zionists, who seem to always grab power. And there's always, some group of assholes in every group. But in terms of their official story is that Jewish people have lived in minorities in various places around the world because they're a small group of people and they don't have a homeland. They're not a ethnicity and they're not exclusively a religion. They're a combination of both the things, right? They're people of varying ethnicities. It's not like they all come from the same region. And there's people. There's African Jews. There's all these various types of Jews, right? There's these different groups of Jews, Hasidic Jews and Ashkenazi, and they don't necessarily get along with each other, just like with the Shiite and Sunni people, but they make up a minority of people. And from Christians, they think they killed Jesus, and the Muslims and them have been beefing, and all these various countries. And at some point, the people of that country turn on them, historically. Like this has happened over and over again. There's some quote from some old scholar that was going around for a while talking about, for 3,000 years, you've had the same outcome in varying countries around the world. Maybe it's not all of the rest of us. Maybe it's you, right? So this is, a sentiment that's out there. But the official story for people of the Jewish faith is that they've never had a homeland, and they had this promised land, and the Rothschilds family, which is Jewish, and powers that be and evangelical Christians pushed for this creation of Israel that existed in a place called Palestine, because there was an exodus from Israel at some point, and there weren't very many Jewish people there, and a small percentage of them. And they said that this was a place that they would be safe. But it's right in the middle of the people that hate them the most, right? They're 3,000-year beef with the Arab people, with the Muslim people, and a bunch of people who don't really get along with each other either. The Muslim people, they have their own battle with Sunni and Shiite, and they have their own very restrictive beliefs, and it's not a group that gets along with people, other groups, right? And they certainly don't get along with each other. And so they're surrounded by these other groups, and they don't have enough people. There's like 12 million or 16 million of them. There's 2 billion Muslims, there's 2 billion Christians, and then, another billion or so Hindus, and then, the rest of the people, right? And so they're just a small group of people who, for whatever reason, people end up hating. And they're in a place where they're hated and around, the area. And so they can't survive without really being manipulative and being militaristic, which they've been, because the country is doomed. It's not something that it's not sustainable. And they need to parasite off of America. And to do that, they've had to spy in America and steal stuff from America, secrets, nuclear secrets. They've had to attack American communications vessel because they didn't want to know the truth about the 6-Day War, whatever war was going on at that time, that they were, the whole thing, the USS Liberty. So there's all these things that they've done, and, they're counteractive, and they've had to buy all these American politicians and threaten them and bribe them and blackmail them, and, all these things that they've had to do to keep this country, this unsustainable country, going, right? And then to call everyone else a lunatic fringe. I mean, this is how they want to see it. Like, anybody who complains about this and says it's fucked up is anti-Semitic and a hater, and you're a lunatic fringe and you're out to get us, right? They have this paranoia, like it's I think it comes from the religion where God the God of the Old Testament, the God of the Jewish Bible, is a narcissistic demon and not God. And he's a real vindictive prick. And there's it's a dysfunctional relationship with the idea of divinity, of some kind of a vindictive, wrathful, narcissistic, sociopathic God, right? And so that's I think that plays a part in it. It also plays a part in the religion not really growing, although Christianity is part of that. And so it says an offshoot, just as Islam is an offshoot of that religion. So then I had a weird thing that happened. So a person left a comment. I'll find it here. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Person wrote this. You remind me of my friend Jamie Lee, who had a channel called The Plain Truth. He sadly passed away. So that was weird. Because I was like, well, where did I hear that name before? And so years and years ago, this is probably 7 years ago, 2017, 2018, probably 2017. I have the email here. And so somebody sent me it was 2018, 2017, 18, because whatever. Somebody sent me a message saying that somebody had stolen one of my videos, which happened all the time, where people would just take my whole video and published it and profit from it. I had a video about Beyonce that I got 250,000 views, or I got 400,000 views, and someone else got like 5 or 6 with the same video. And this was a foreign person that just, foreign people that would find a way to make American dollars by lifting these videos and things and just publishing the whole video, taking off the like introduction so they wouldn't know who did it. I mean, just like scummy stuff. And so I filed a copyright thing, didn't think about it, and I was out and I started getting a migraine headache. I came home with a migraine headache, and I had hundreds of hostile comments towards me saying that I was trying to take a Plain Truth channel. And so it took me a while to figure out who this was. And the guy made a video saying I was trying to take his channel down and I was being a fucking asshole and how bad I sucked, which was completely weak. Like I'm glad this happened but it was like a bad day for me. Like I didn't feel good. And it was some of the people who watch my channel regularly because we shared an audience. And they were like, how could you do this? I don't know why you're such a... they were completely manipulated by his video. And so I made a video explaining what happened. I didn't know who the fuck this was, right? I just thought it was some person. This person was a truther that published his own content. He's a flat earther too, which I didn't... Back then I hadn't, this was part of my whole flat earth thing. And he would take some truthers' videos and did what's called the mirroring, which is what people made excuses for, taking somebody else's video and posted it. And he monetized it, which he said he didn't. And so I made a video explaining, what happened from my end. And, and I felt it was just really weak to try to send his audience against me. And, all these people who watched my channel and were regular viewers, and then all of a sudden they saw this video, and without getting my side of the story, they just turned on me like, people do. And it was a good telling thing for me to realize that, people don't really know you, and, there's nothing here. Like there's no real, loyalty or whatever it might be. And so I made a bunch of videos, and then he came back and said he didn't monetize the video, but then I found out he did, and then my wife, we were getting together then, she found another video of mine on his channel, so he'd taken 2 of my videos and monetized them. He was 100% in the wrong, because like he made it sound like I did it to him on purpose, like I was somehow, and I didn't even know who he was. Like I didn't know his channel, I didn't know who he was, right? I found this email, so eventually he, hi Mr. Ramau, my entire YouTube account has been taken down, including channels with no association with the Plain Truth. I have no idea why. I have contacted an attorney, and we will see redemption and reinstatement, as well as explore the areas to get my account back and running. There are over 550 videos that are now lost, and I wish back. The attorney fees will be about $500. I would agree to never post any of your work again, as well as remove all references to you. And if your site, if you reach the copyright strikes, if you rescind the copyright strikes you have filed against me. It was one strike. I will also pay you $450. I've already sent 50 if you respond rather than pay my lawyer to get the strikes removed. This is a one-time offer, only good until 2022-18. I really meant no harm in using some of your work. My only effort is to educate, alert, and inform. I've made no money from your work. None. Well, he did because he monetized the videos. Sincerely, Jamie Lee. And so I said, well, what you need to do is write. I don't give a shit about the money, but you need to go and tell everyone that this was the problem was he made it sound like I was trying to take his channel, and it was just for me another one of these random channels that were stealing my videos and posting them as a whole, which is not cool. This was when it wasn't him like taking partial clips and using it for a larger video, and there's YouTube who has a tool where you can find out who's like taking your stuff, right, copyrighting your stuff. And again, it was completely innocent on my part, but he made this video attacking me and sending all this hate towards me and the channel and all this stuff. And I was like, it was just a bitch move, right? Like, it's just not cool. But over the years, people have said that that they have asked me if I'm this guy. And I was wondering, because he has so many of my videos on his channel, but they felt like I sounded similar to him. But I had no idea the guy died, which was kind of interesting, because the only other kind of YouTuber that I've interacted with, there was two of them, like two truthers. There was a guy named The Scariest Movie Ever Made or something like that. Was that guy? And he, I don't know what happened to him, but we had some exchanges. He used to watch my videos. And then there was a guy named Jeff C., who I had watched his videos before I was making truther videos, back when I was making mostly exclusively homesteading videos. And Jeff C. was somebody I watched. He was from Canada, and I thought he was pretty funny. And he used to watch my videos. Then he wrote me like a hostile comment, like I was some kind of shill. But then he was a person who was very fiery, and this was when the YouTubers in the truth community were always attacking each other. Like, there was a lot of drama. But then he, came back and he was recommending my channel again to some people. And then he died of some weird stomach, he had some kind of like stomach cancer or something. And he was young. I think he was younger than I am. He was probably in his 30s or 40s when he died. 40s maybe, I don't know. And then I don't know about this guy. I would assume this guy was younger than me, but I don't know. But it seems like truthers don't do very well. It seems like truthers are, I'm not talking about just dying, but, they've disappeared. Somebody wrote a comment saying, I can't believe your channel survived the purge, talking about what happened in the Biden administration when they went after people for community guideline strikes to do with the mostly COVID stuff. And they went retroactive. And many of us had talked shit about vaccines and things years and years ago. Not talk shit, but, expose them or talked about them. But, all the truthers I used to listen to before, back in 2007, whatever, all the videos I used to have up, a lot of the videos I've bookmarked are gone. The channels are gone. There's all these, 9/11 videos that I used to watch that are all gone. I mean, just a wealth of information and a whole genre of videos wiped out by YouTube and then all that stuff, right? There was, it used to be like the Wild West, and community guidelines weren't a thing. And so, this is the age of the digital media where, there's lots of information out there, but whole, levels of it can disappear, and all of it can disappear. We could have this whole period of time when computer technology is, electricity comes down, the grid, whatever, and computers and all this stuff, and it's all lost. Photos and, videos and, family stuff and the age of information. But truthers in general just don't seem to do very well. And so, I've lasted mostly because of Sagemark's system, probably exclusively because of that. And, I feel like I have a purpose beyond the truther stuff. And that's why I've been able to just not take it all that too seriously or whatever. But, there's always been drama in the truth community, and I just haven't really got into it. And, and people are just, they get their feelings hurt. And, they expect more from their audience, and their audience is really capable of giving. It's not a relationship-based situation where their people are, there's any level of, whatever, connectivity that people seek. Like people are oftentimes don't find people like them in their area, in their town, and in their the immediate surroundings. But they can find like people on the internet, which is great. But it's internet stuff is limited, and that's all it's ever going to be. Well, anyways, the lunatic fringe is here. Let's get into the other stuff. Okay, let me just I took a little break. I actually had rendered or whatever you do with these audios. But I woke up a little bit early today, a little bit sleepy. So there's some central things I want to say here about both of these things I just talked about. People who seek the truth in whatever capacity, people who are realizing the official story is not correct. Like people have, if you think about the human, some of the behaviors that humans have exhibited and still exhibit now, I mean, they're more hidden. People think we're somehow more sophisticated or somehow we've made it in some way. We live in suburbs and we don't have our animalistic tendencies, but they're just waiting to come out, right? They're not buried. And I don't want to say animalistic. I want to talk about things that are like, torturing other people or just destroying environments. I mean, doing things that are fucking just evil and wrong and doing them anyway and rationalizing them for whatever reason or enjoying them, getting off on them and those things, right? So people do that. And, especially spiritual seekers, because that's the ultimate truth. But people in history who have sought the truth, it's just a lonely life. If you're not, in some places of the world, like what happened to Jesus and those people, his disciples and all those early Christians who were, when the movement was real, when the movement was really about connecting to God, they were killed. And doesn't happen everywhere, especially India is a good place. But even in that, it's a lonely existence. And the higher you go, the closer you get to God, the more you evolve, the lonelier it becomes because people just don't want to delve into that area. Even though your path of your soul and your soul's journey is the most important thing, the only thing that really matters here on planet Earth, and people, don't even embark in that journey, don't even dip their toe into it. And so the majority of people are just looking for materialistic gratification in whatever form that takes, whatever time period. And so people in the truth community, you can see, people who are aspiring, real truthers. I'm not talking about people who just want to blame fucking the left or blame the right. All these, I mean, those people are not, they don't exist for me. Like they're just annoyances, like they're, pests because they're not truth seekers. They're not looking for something. They're not trying to self-improve. They're not trying to figure things out. Whatever your thing is, like whether it's a mental thing, you're trying to, figure out why you're asking questions about, the fundamental aspects of your existence and, the system, whatever it might be, like whatever drives somebody. But when people are just looking to blame like some other group, let's blame the elite and, this whole Illuminati, whatever it might be. You're not seeking the truth. And then there's people who are messed up, paranoid, psychological issues, and also who have some, tendencies towards the truth, but they can't get there because they're just fucked in the head, right? They're just fucked up. But I'm talking about the people who are actually looking for, some answers, some deeper meaning to life and whatever it is. And those people just don't do well. And that's what I was talking about in terms of, people in the truth community. It's unfortunate, but it's because you're not, you're a fringe person. And so going back to this song, they played this song. They don't just play a song like this, right? So this is, they're coming out of a break and I just found some, in the commercial breaks. They have their own song. They have two songs. They have the traditional Monday, da 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 da, the Monday Night Football song. When I was a kid, when Howard Cosell was the host of Monday Night Football. Howard Cosell, da 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 da, right? So, and then they have, not to be confused with Beethoven's thing, but it's a little, set of notes, some music. And now they have a song that comes in, right? Which they use Phil Collins's "You Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight." The Sunday Night Football, they have Carrie Underwood sing that, you know, football on Sunday night song, whatever the fuck it is, right? So we're ready for football in America, whatever. It's a whole football song. And now they also have on Thursday Night Football, they have some guy, Shabumi, and he sings a song saying, "We're going to let them know," which is, like a football would be a football phrase or some kind of, competitive phrase. We're going to let them know. We're going to show you who we are, right? This kind of thing. And so they're football themed songs. And on Monday Night Football, they have this song. They do the Phil Collins song, "We Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight." And they got some famous woman drummer who, it's not that famous because I never seen her before, but and Snoop Dogg does some sort of rap about the game. But it's all football centric, right? Lunatic Fringes say, what the fuck is that about? Like, they don't play the lyrics because the lyrics are fucked. But people have heard that song. And so why would you play that? Like, it's got an interesting tune. I'm not saying that, it doesn't have musical merit. But given the fact that we see this stuff I'm going to get into this stuff with the Erika Kirk's Twitter feed, that's just a mess over there, right? This whole thing with Shekels. But the whole way that, this thing with Israel is gone and all these politicians, it's just coming to the surface. And then you drop this subliminal message about how everybody who questions this, this dysfunctional relationship is somehow fucked up, right? But the line here, I want to go back to this line, because you have to blame someone for your own confusion. This idea that there isn't some problem that is being caused by their side, right? This is, and I talk about this about everything. All the right-wing people, all the left-wing people who just want to blame the other side. We're the good guys, you're the bad guys. But you're taking no responsibility for the way that people react to you. And so to say you have to blame someone, this is in Canada, but in America, there is a dysfunctional parasitic relationship between Israel and America. And I've said this before to somebody like Charlie Kirk, all these religious people who are also political. You can't serve two masters. You can't be all Republican and also be a, servant of God. You can vote, like you can vote or whatever, but you can't be a political person trying to work in the political field and serving the political party or, even America. You can't be a patriot. That's the example I usually use. You can't be a patriot and serve God, right? You have to serve the country or God. Like you can't serve both at the same time. Because at some point, what God wants you to do and what your country needs you to do are two different things. What God needs you to do and what your country wants you to do. It should be like that because God, or what you need to do for God. God doesn't need you for anything. You find somebody else, right? But what you need to do for God and what you want to do for your country or what your country wants you to do are going to conflict. And so people have this in their life where you have two masters and you can't serve both forever. And Israel's needs and desires and America's needs and desires are not the same thing. They haven't been for a very long time, and there's always going to be separation and people who are dual citizens. So the fact that there's this parasitic relationship and Israel can't survive without America, and they've taken the worst, it's like, think about Israel's relationship with America. So America just bankrolls Israel and defends them and does everything to keep them going. Like there's nothing that America has ever done to Israel, in terms of any of this stuff. But Israel has spied on America more than any other country. Mossad, they spy on American people. They have had people like Jeffrey Epstein who are spying on Americans and blackmailing them and also prostituting young American women on behest of Mossad and Israel, and then using that information to go against American interests. They have taken nuclear secrets from us and created their own nuclear program by spying on their friends. So spying, just, like that's, like imagine if this was a man and a woman in a relationship and the woman was doing all these things, right? There's been spies like the producer of the Fight Club, who has spied, he was American, he was an Israeli spy, dual citizen, and now he lives in Israel, and he spied in, his capacity as a producer in Hollywood, right? Like a double agent, somebody who was a part of American upper echelon Hollywood stuff. You've had people who are pro-Israel in the media, running media conglomerates, Rupert Murdoch, these other people, and manipulating people through Fox News and these other, I think about how bad Fox News is on Israel and these other organizations all across the world, Disney, Bob Iger, all these people. Controlled your movies and narratives. That's why there's so many Holocaust movies, and this anti-Semitism is always a theme in these Hollywood movies and things like this. So they're propagandizing you, they're manipulating you, they're giving you false information, going against your best interests. I mean, if this is like a couple, like if you were married to somebody who was doing this to you, right? Or this was your parent, and all the manipulation of victim consciousness and how somehow all of us are on the hook financially for their paranoid victim consciousness about how everybody hates them and how everyone's trying to get them, right? And somehow we're supposed to bankroll that whole fucking thing and all the things that go with this. They bombed the USS Liberty, some kind of a, when we were going to find out information that showed that Israel was the aggressor in whatever war that was, that it was 6-Day War or whatever it was, when that thing happened with the U.S. Liberty. It was a 6-Day War, and Israel was the aggressor attacking all these countries, and they wanted to blame Egypt for the sinking of an American vessel that they torpedoed. And then initially, LBJ was scrambling jets to bomb Egypt. They were trying to draw us into a war. And it turned out, when he found out it was Israel, he pulled the jets back and he didn't do a shit to them. There's a big, giant, gaping hole in the ship. It just didn't fucking sink. It just wouldn't fucking sink, right? It should have sunk. They hit it with a fucking torpedo. Like there's like a 10-foot hole in the side of the fucking thing, right? 60 American soldiers, Navy men die. And it was an unarmed vessel. And the 6-Day War is October 6th is their celebration of that. They have this celebration like that. They're celebrating that shit. When they attacked an American vessel. I mean, not all of it. They attacked all those countries. They were the aggressor in that region. And so to call us lunatic fringe, people who are tired of that dysfunctional relationship, right? Like this is, I mean, and then to play that song and make it sound like, you guys are all fucking crazy, this anti-Semitic hatred that's pouring out of you. Well, maybe you just suck, right? Like maybe you should fucking behave better and treat other countries and other people better and stop playing the victim when you're the aggressor. Maybe like that would be something, right? Maybe self-examine. Maybe you should get some feedback about, why people feel the way they do about you. Okay, so that's a long introduction, but I think it's very telling. Let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so I want to get into the Twitter stuff with Erika Kirk first, I think, but let's start here. This just popped up on Facebook. Hollywood shot back. The escalating culture war just found a new battleground. The Super Bowl halftime show, as the biggest sporting event in America, faces unprecedented backlash. Turning Point USA, the conservative powerhouse, has dropped a nuclear bomb on mainstream media, announcing a competing all-American halftime event headlined by comedy legend and cultural icon Adam Sandler. Right? This alternative show is a declaration of war. With its trademark grin and fearless humor, the TPSU spokesman told a stunned nation, we are not taking on the NFL, we're taking over. The commitment is real, fueled by massive funding, including Sharon Osbourne's $20 million pledge. This spectacular promises laughter, music, and unapologetic American pride. In a matter of minutes, hashtag Sandler strikes and hashtag All American Halftime broke the internet, completely eclipsing the buzz around the official act. Why Adam Sandler? Because in a world obsessed with division, Sandler's mix of heart and humor and old-skilled entertainment embodies a different kind of rebellion, one rooted in authenticity. The media is panicked, and establishment is reeling, and America's watching to see if this single bold move by TPSU will forever fracture the Super Bowl viewing experience. Look at these freaking nightmare couples here. Well, maybe it's because Adam's Jewish, and he's really good at making content for dumb fucks, right? I think he's more of a content for dumb fucks person. And I guess you guys are paying him a shit ton of money, or he's getting funded by some pro-Israeli lobbyist people. But either way, it's like, this is going to be horrific. I mean, I'll be covering it, of course, because of how bad this thing is. But anyways, okay, so today's Wednesday, October 22nd. I did the rest of the video yesterday, started it. I'm going with this whole thing about I'm giving more space than 24 hours per video. So I'll probably put up 6 videos a week instead of 7. I don't know how it's going to work out. We'll see how that goes in terms of, if there's more viewership that way. There seems to be. Anyways, so Twitter recommended Erika J. Kirk's tweet, which I'll show you in a moment. I have never looked at her Twitter page. It's amazing how they figure things out, right? Like who you might be interested in and what tweets, what kind of things they'll recommend to you. But if I looked at her Twitter page, it was like a month ago. Like, I don't remember ever doing that. But this stuff looks familiar, but it's the same stuff that's on her Instagram. Steadfast in faith, social engineer, proclaims streetwear, midweek Rise Up podcast, Bible in 365, and formerly Erika Franzi. And so I'm not verified yet. So this was the tweet they recommended. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death. So this is some kind of Christian term that I should look up. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. So this is the idea that you're only going to heaven if you are a Christian, and if you are asleep in Christ, this whole sleep and death thing, you're awakened in heaven. It's a whole thing. The thing is, her saying, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. This is actually from St. Paul, one of his letters to the theologians. Is that what it is? And reincarnation is a real thing. And there's lots of proof that you can find for yourself through past associations. Like, there are people that just come into your life and immediately you have a connection with them. And there's a previous association. And you can have past life memories, there's past life regressions. There's all kinds of things you can do for yourself to prove that there's past life stuff, right? Familiarity with places, memories, past life memories, whatever. Skills that you have that clearly, were not something you just... there's people who are genetically predisposed to one thing or another. You have some genetic whatever it might be. And everyone in your family's good at certain things, right? Good athletes, good whatever. But then you have these things where there's no genetic reference in your whole family history of having these abilities that you have. Like, you have abilities that none of your siblings have, whatever it might be. And so there's all this evidence out there, and I don't have to convince anybody. I'm not convincing anybody of anything. I want to get into this in a bit because I don't give a shit what you believe. Like I say this all the time. And in my system, the third master of the system was St. Paul in a past life. So he was reincarnated, and he got liberated in his master Chargy in this life, liberated from future births. So like that's all to me just like horseshit. This stuff that they believe, but that is what it is, right? The line that got me here is so that you do not grieve, and so like she is on stage celebrating and smiling about his death, which is her celebrating that she knows he's in heaven, right? The problem is the guy was shackled up more than anybody we've ever seen. He's Charlie Shekels. Like he was bought and sold by Israel. Like he had to lick taint, like in ways. I mean, whatever it was that Charlie had to do, like I don't know, it's some kind of thing you'd find on. I mean, it's gross enough, taint. Like like I felt like the grossest, like most demeaning thing I could think of. But I'm sure there's things out there on like what's that Urban Dictionary or whatever it might be. Like there's probably some sayings and things that are so gross that I couldn't even I mean that's gross enough. Like it's just, but I want to it's so demeaning and so humiliating. Like Charlie Kirk had to do that because he took $100 million, so they expected him. Ben and BB would come out with this outrageously bullshit lies and talking points, and he was supposed to recite them verbatim because he took $100 million. These other people, they got criticized, Megyn Kelly and some of these other people, and they, and then of course Candace Owens, who has been, MIA. I think she went on vacation. I thought she was going to come back this week to start shit again, and maybe she has. I haven't checked the YouTube for today. But if I don't cover that today, I'll cover that tomorrow. But, the whole thing, well, we'll see a Turning Point falling apart. The whole thing with Turning Point was he had to say things about Israel that eventually were going to be like, dude, do you really say that shit? Did you really fucking, did you really push for that stuff? I mean, genocide happened. And so he took money from the Pharisees, where Jesus turned over the money changing stuff, and he confronted the Pharisees and they killed him. So, he's a Judas, not a Jesus, right? He's not a Jesus person. He's a Judas person. He betrayed his followers. He betrayed the Christian religion. He's betrayed America for Israel. Like he had to because he took their money. And maybe in the beginning it sounded like, oh yeah, Israel's cool, and we're Israel and America, and they can have shared goals, and it's a great relationship. But you took the fucking money, and then you realize, hey, they're not like that at all. And then everyone's bailing on me. All these people who are my contemporaries are turning on Israel, and I'm fucking left out here with $100 million in shekels. I'm all sheckled up. And so, like, he's not, that wouldn't be heaven material. You don't go to heaven when you're serving a master that's, doing demonic shit. So there remains a Sabbath, rest for the people. Whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works as God did from his. Keeping the Sabbath day, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So, and he's also an Old Testament Bible person. The Old Testament people are, different than the New Testament people. There was a time I was working in this sort of recreation center that was semi-counseling place when I first was made a preceptor, and I moved to New Mexico, and I was working in Los Alamos, which is a whole thing. I wanted to talk about someday. It was a weird place. It's where they make the nuclear bomb, and there's all these doctors and all these weird kids. And there was, I forgot the story I was about to tell. Yeah, so anyways, I remember the story. So there was this time that they wanted me to hold the recreation center open later. And there was, these were like teenage kids, and their parents were meeting for some like social event. And they they're all like these Christian people. And most of the kids were all right. They were just well-behaved kids, whatever, good Christian kids. But there was one kid, and he had like this T-shirt on, and it was like a heavy metal kind of T-shirt, and it said, you haven't accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and so now you're going to hell. And it showed hell, and so like the devil's hand or some hand coming out, like grabbing. It was like fucking creepy as shit, right? It was like, and this kid was just a mess. You could just see he was like, just ill-behaved, like just a nightmare kid, like one of these nightmare kids. And, the parents came down, and his mom was like a single mom, and she was like kind of big, and she was like showing cleavage, like trying to hook up with some Christian dad, and she was just loud and just obnoxious, just whatever. I think she was pretty drunk. And, you could see that there's people who focus on the going to hell part, right? There's people who focus on the going to heaven part, and then there's people who focus on the going to hell part. And, the wrathful God, and the people who, can't wait for the non-believers to be punished. There's people who embrace the New Testament and the Old Testament. But, going back to this thing with her saying, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind, it's just an idea. When you are connected to God and you are in the death process, you start to spend more and more time to where you're going when your soul's going when you die. And, it's not a physical journey. Your soul can go anywhere in the universe by just the ability of thought, right? And when you don't have the limitations of a body, when you're dreaming and people have these, outer body experiences, and your soul can go anywhere and connect with anything and anybody on an etheric level. But it's not as substantial as physical contact and, material ideas. So it's very subtle. One of the great teachings of the Sajmark system is that God is subtle, so you reach God by equally subtle means, which is the transmission, and God's love is subtle, right? It's the most subtle thing. And so you don't know, like you think you're so, especially people like Christians, they have this faulty belief in that Jesus died for their sins, and these things that just can't happen. It's illogical on a spiritual level, on a mental level. Everything's about consequences. They're saying you should not suffer the consequences of your existence if you just accept Jesus. And that really means accepting the church and giving them money and doing shit for them. That's what that really means. But if you are a spiritual person, then you have a material life. You should have a material life, and you should have your things that you enjoy and things you dislike, and you can have your moments. But you can't be embedded in this fucking demonic political system and be around this piece of shit here, right? So here, President Trump marks October 14th as National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. Now that's going to disappear as fast as fuck. That guy's shackled up. He's got a small following. There's nobody at TPSU has getting 20,000 views on the videos. I think they're buying views on top of it to make it look better than it is, and it's a fucking disaster. They're rolling out people like Chrisley, Savannah Chrisley, and fucking weird ass shit, and all that other guy, that comedian that got busted, whatever his name is. I covered him in the other video, who didn't even show up, right? We call on every American to pray for peace in our public square. Above all, we renew our resolve to always defend our principles of truth, faith, and open exchange of ideas. They have nothing to do with truth. Your husband was shackled up. You guys were shackled up. You took money to push fucking bullshit on young people. Like you guys have, with this thing here, right? This whole thing, her smiling, but she's crying and smiling and smiling and crying, and there's the fucking bullshit medal, right? And, there's the ceremony. Every single day, the Trump administration will continue to carry out the mission of which Charlie Kirk lived for Charlie. Well, then, Charlie's a fucking asshole, right? Because Trump is like, shit the bed. And I think more and more people have recognized it. Like, Trump isn't gaining support. He might do a few things that win people over, that it affects them in some way, the positive way. But other than that, this whole thing, you can't say the stuff you say. Here she is. I can't go another step. I can't take it. This whole, look at touch my heart here, Charlie. My heart. Just, and there's all these people here. Who are these fucking ghouls? Those her parents? They must be his parents. Holy shit. That's his dad. I think that's his dad. This fucking guy here. Carmen Sandiego's dad over here. This is where she's just, look at all grieving. All grieving. And so, all this stuff. There's the Medal of Freedom. They got it all going on there. This other stuff here. Then there's them coming out. Like, they have all these things. Look, he's putting his hand
The
on.
United States honors him as a martyr for truth and freedom.
Charles James Kirk was a visionary and...
Let's go back to this thing. Coming out of the
Medal
door.
of Freedom is awarded to Charles.
Boom! There's the move right there. He's getting her. Just, like they're making this into something it's fucking not, right?
Charles James Kirk. The United States honors him as a martyr for truth and freedom.
Charles James Kirk was a visionary and one of the greatest figures
to defend, and that's freedom. I can say with confidence, Mr. President, that you have given him.
This is the best image. I use this in the thumbnail, right?
The best birthday gift.
It's the best birthday gift ever. A fucking medal for being that he wouldn't be. I bet he'd prefer to be alive, right?
Could ever have. Charlie.
He did, Mr. President.
His life was proof that freedom is not a theory; it's a testimony.
That look right there, right? It's, like she's so fake.
Proof that freedom is not a theory; it's
boom. Like she just can't stand up to the moment, right?
a testimony.
Boom! I'm so okay. I just can't do it, Mr. Trump. President Trump, I just can't do. I can't go any further. Can you just hold me, Mr. Trump?
Notice that liberty begins not in the halls of power, but in the man of a heart surrendered to God. To live free is the greatest gift, but to die free is the greatest.
Look at his fucking mom. Holy shit. What happened to that dude, right? Holy fuck, what's going on there? This is fucked up, or this is some fucked up shit, bro. Some fucked up shit, bro. What's up, bro?
Victory.
Oh, there she goes. Usha. I can't make it. Is that her mom? Must be her mom.
Happy birthday, my Charlie.
My Charlie.
Happy Freedom Day.
Happy Freedom Day. Happy Freedom Day, Charlie. Charlie.
I miss you.
Wow, that was fucking harsh. You guys even married, bro? TPSU speaker drop. So, like, all this stuff, here this is the thing I want to get to. They're going to have, no, you see it for yourself here. Let's make this clear. Boom. They're going to have Erika J. Kirk, J.D. Vance, Benny J. Johnson, Eric, I'm a good boy, Trump. Laura, I'm married to a good boy, Trump. And Tommy Tuberville. It's just new confirmed speakers at Ole Miss 1029. She's probably going to maybe stop grieving then. Maybe she won't be fucking fake crying and smiling and being so fucking fake. But, it's, if you're a real godly person, this shit just doesn't exist, right? I mean, you have your stuff, you have your issues. You don't become like an instant perfect, saintly person. But you lose interest in politics. You lose interest in things. You might, get sucked in for a little while to something, and then it shows you like this is not, it's hurting your spiritual well-being. Politics is like a death knell for people in their spiritual center. More of this stuff here. I mean, she's just really milking this thing. So anyways, so that's the Kirks. Go to church. This is September 28th, right? Go to church. Let's go Ducks. Honor the nudge. Invite them to church. People already know it's there. But anyways, I'll come back to that. I got a great comment I want to get to about, fucking that No Kings thing. Okay, so I'm going to go to Charlie Kirk's channel in a second here. YouTube recommended this video, Eminem, The Way I Am, the blues version.
All shit that works and it says and it helps in itself to relieve.
So they have these AI videos that they take some rap song or some classic rock song or some classic song, and they put a twist on it. Often makes the song better. And I listened to a bunch of them, and it is just like giving the AI a few prompts, and it can generate these things, and they're all over the place now. And it's the end. It's AI is just getting going, right? And it's like the end of like artistry, because I mean they can make these sophisticated. Like if you listen to any of these things, they're quite sophisticated. This was, I think, my favorite one, the song the Way I Am. But they make sophisticated musical ensembles and just rearrangements, and do it in a matter of seconds, right? So we'll come back to that some other time. So this is the Charlie Kirk show, and Charlie Kirk gets another huge win. Bye-bye, DEI demon. And so, that's pretty harsh language, right? They're very Old Testament, right? They're very old, fire and brimstone. Proof the left are the real tyrants, 16,000 views. The most important video you can watch today, only 23,000 views. Charlie Kirk takes on a Bible-denying Oxford student, and he fucking schools her. 48,000 views. So they're not, like, even dead Charlie Kirk can't exhume this fucking channel. And then there's a bunch of shit here about the No Kings. Assassination culture. It has 117,000 views, but you'll see that there's not enough comments to justify that. The new bill to ban Sharia law, 27,000 views. Democrats have begun to eat their own, 34,000 views. And so this is just all, like, there's no God in here, like they claim to be Christians, but there's nothing here that would represent that. This has 100,000 views, still not enough to carry this heavy payroll, $20 million payroll fucking establishment, right? They do have these big concert-like events that they, but they're fucked. Like, they need their shekels. And, the shekels are just, they're not flowing like they used to because everything's gone tits up for Israel and the rest of this in terms of America. But here, let's get into this here.
Videos. Amazing new film this Holy Week. Phenomenal.
As I think about Charlie's life and how much of a support he was of Angel, it's hard not to feel so grateful for what he did. He supported us in our darkest days and in our brightest hours as a company.
Yeah, he did that because you fucking paid him, right? This is a commercial. Let's go back to the beginning.
Our good friends at Angel Studios. I love Angel Studios. Amazing.
He said he loved them because they gave him shekels. They're shekeling him up. I don't know if they're, what Angel Studios is about. But, he's sheckled. Charlie shekels his saying he loves you or he endorsing something. The guy was the biggest fucking shill out there, right? He prostituted himself every way possible.
New film. This
What the fuck haircut is this, right?
Holy Week. Phenomenal.
As I think about Charlie's life and how much of a support he was of Angel, it's hard not to feel so grateful for what he did. He supported us in our darkest days and in our brightest hours as a company.
Yeah, because you fucking paid him and did commercials with him.
Man, are we grateful to have gotten to be a little connection in the multitude of connections that he made throughout his life, because
we paid him. We didn't have the shekels that these Israeli motherfuckers have, but we had some shekels.
It was so impactful to us. Thank you, Charlie. Love you. We miss you. We're going to continue to drive forward the good news.
Boom. This is a wonderful commercial.
We have news to get to. It is Monday, and Mike and I were both kind of off the grid a little bit this weekend, but you had time to go visit the No Kings protest.
Yeah, the one in Santa Barbara.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was all...
You went to that, did you? I think one of these chairs is Charlie's chair. It must be this one because it's different than the rest, right? This is Charlie's chair. They always leave it open.
Middle-aged white people.
Middle age. That's being nice. Was it?
Yeah, maybe a little older, and they're just uncleanly. I think is the
Really?
best description.
Old,
Yeah.
dirty white people.
Old, dirty white people, and weird too. Very weird.
Fascinating.
I know.
Well, there was.
That was a fascinating take. What a fucking take. Boy, I'm glad I brought you on the show. With takes like that, we're going fucking places. You might even replace Charlie. If you talked about it, maybe, dating Erika, because, I mean, you got it. Like, I mean, that take was fucking amazing.
A lot of news made. I would say that generally they were peaceful.
Yeah,
but there
They
was
were fucking peaceful. They were all fucking peaceful. They were fucking annoying, but peaceful. They were fucking annoying. It was fucking nutless fucking... And I'm going to get into it because somebody left a fucking really long comment about all this shit, and I can't wait to talk about it. Like, I'm making this video so I can talk about that comment, right?
a lot of really gross stuff that we saw
Disgusting.
there, right? Like signs, you can put up this B-roll 77. I mean, you'll just see some of the images that were coming across were like, kill all Nazis. So essentially, that's what they think of us, right? There was this gentleman.
Well, you'd have to ask him what do you define as Nazis? Like, does he mean actual Nazis? And, you guys are the shackled ones, right? Charlie was the most shackled. He was the most not Nazi. These liberals who, are against the genocide in Palestine. I mean, it's stupid. Just the whole fucking thing's stupid, what they're doing here. Because if this was just some random fuck with no followers, some lonely piece of shit on the internet, and he posted kill all Nazis on Twitter, which I don't know if you can even get away with that. But if he said something like that, will you pay attention? Will you say, hey, look, random fuck over here just said kill all Nazis? These are lonely fucking desperate people with no fucking clue, walking around with shit on signs that they're, and you're making it like it's real.
Here, cut 80. Oh, well, so we'll get to her in just a second.
She's a special case.
Yeah, that's Lucy Martinez.
Not fucking Lucy. You're guys going to go after Lucy? Not Lucy Martinez.
If we do want to go into that, but give me 1 second here. This is a guy.
You can't even get your fucking shit straight here, bro.
At 83, kind of sounds like about the demographic
Yep.
you were experiencing on the streets, Mikey. This is cut 83. This is a gentleman who's calling for people to go kill ICE agents. 83.
Grab a gun. We got to turn around the guns on this fascist system. These ICE agents got to get shot and wiped out. The state machinery that's a full.
Okay, this random fuck. None of these people own guns, right? These are liberal fucking people. For the most part, don't own guns. They're not going to go kill ICE agents. If they did, it would be some other fucking false flag thing. They have these limp dick fucking protests that do nothing, and they say stupid shit just like everybody else says stupid shit on Twitter. They get all fucking liquored up, and they all estrogened up, and they go out and they post shit on Twitter or somewhere else, and they throw around fucking stupid shit like it happens every day on the internet, or people saying shit in bars and other places that they don't fucking mean. And when it came to like right wing people. When those morons who pretended that they were going to capture that Gretchen Whitmore, I did that by accident. I didn't mean Gretchen Whitmore. I didn't mean to say Whitmore. Remember they were going to kidnap her or kill her, something like that, and they all went to jail. They weren't going to do shit like they were talking about on fucking Facebook, right? Like it's just moronic stuff. It's people, words and intentions fucking matter and things like that, sure. But we're already way past that in terms of the hatred and the anger towards people. And pretty much all the pussification, the bonus whole part of the American culture where everyone's just, all talk.
Play right there has to get wiped out.
So these ICE agents got to get shot. And so I'm pretty sure that gentleman will be getting a visit from the FBI, law enforcement.
Yeah, of course he will, because this Trump was going to go after him. Trump will fucking, because this is how Trump rolls, and he would be anyway, even if it was some other guy. It's silly. Like, why are you even posting that? Like, no, just a fucking you're making it. This is why your show sucks. Nobody believes the official story of Charlie Kirk's death, and you guys are still sitting on your hands about that shit because you've been shackled up. You know, people have said this guy, was the one who Judased him. Somebody or multiple people over at Turning Point Judas their shackled guy. They want to take the titles of Charlie Shekels. This is Andy Shekels.
Should definitely be knocking on that gentleman's door. But we want to know what you guys thought. Did you go to the...
I think you're fucking full of shit. I think you're all fucked in the head, right?
I think you're all fucked in the head.
So, the title of that video, we'll get back to it, is Assassination Culture is on Full Display, right? These were the people. Are these the assassins here?
I bought it! Amazon, but I don't really...
We're live on MSNBC. Tell me, what's the number one thing that
So
brings
don't
you
say something fucking cunty. don't
right now.
Anti-fascism! No kings in this country. It's not allowed.
Not allowed. See, we're going to come back to this because I got this comment I want to read. I'm going to wait to save my, my ire for that. But these are not assassinates. These are not assassination culture.
We don't want it.
Ice out of LA! Ice out of LA, please!
Please, ice. Will you guys leave? No ice. We don't want any more ice. Get rid of all the ice machines, all the ice, anything to do with ice.
Oh, nice to meet you guys. What are your names?
Amanda.
Brooke.
Amanda and Brooke. All right, nice to meet you, Amanda and Brooke.
Here's the party bus.
This is Antifa. What is this? What are you seeing right now?
This is love and power and community.
Love and power.
Yeah, it's none of those fucking things, you moron. The hippie culture fucking, you guys sold the fuck out, right? And so the hippies, there was a great documentary. It was like these guys, Stonyfield Yogurt, one of those organic yogurt companies. And these guys were big into politics and liberal bullshit. The hippie movement was great. Like, it brought in a lot of great things. There's change that needed to happen. And their fucking right-wing bullshit that was dominating America needed to be shaken up. It's all full of shit. Fake Christianity, fake conservatism. And they dominated America. So there was a natural rebellion, and of course there's a lot of stupid shit in the hippie movement, like anything else, because people are dumb and fucking, But there are some good things that came out of it, right? But there was this documentary about these foods companies that would start organically, organic food companies that would start grassroots, and these guys were making yogurt in some bathtubs to fund their liberal bullshit things that they were doing. This is probably in the 2000s, whatever. It's like one of those Stonyfield, one of those big name yogurts you find in Whole Foods. And then they realized that they became a big yogurt company. And they realized they could fund a lot more if they became some conglomerate than they sold to one of those Pepsi or fucking Nestle or one of those big fucking shitty food conglomerates, right? And they this was what all these people did, these hippies. They became CEOs. And they hated the man, they hated big finance, they hated all that stuff. And then they became that, right? They ended up running companies, and then they started to run shit. And that's why we had all that weird stuff that happened under the Biden administration. They started to push all that, the trans stuff and all the gender stuff and all that kind of stuff. Because they had money, and they were now in power. Not like shekels, but they had money. They have liberal money, and so they became everything that they hated, and they wouldn't listen to the other side, and they censored, and they did all that shit, right? And so, when you become what you hate, and when you whine about stuff being done to you, and then you do this exact same stuff to other people when you're on top, when you're no longer in a weaker position, like if you've been abused in some way, and you've been cheated and wronged. When you gain power, you should remove that issue. You should say, all right, let's get rid of that. Let's not let people do that, or, I'm not going to do that myself. But when you then, in turn, do it to somebody else, you're passing on the abuse, right? When there's abuse, when you get traumatized in some way, abused in some way, there's three options. You can cope, which almost nobody ever does. Figure a way out, be grateful for it, realize that there's a reason for it, that God has a plan. Take it coming from God and just be grateful in some way. and miseries as divine blessings, right? These other things. Almost nobody does that. And so then you could hurt somebody else. You can pass on the abuse to somebody else, or you can hurt yourself, right? Self-abuse. You have this poison inside. It's like someone's injected evil. You've uploaded a program to you that's this, you have a demon inside you, an abuser inside of you, right? And you have to cope with it. You have to deal with it. It's like you've been poisoned on a psychological, emotional, spiritual level. You have this thing inside of you now, and you have to, this abusive program. You've experienced something, and you have to somehow, reverse it. You have to, to get rid of it. You have to transform it into something else. But anyways, this thing's an absolute joke.
Mimi,
right?
what's your name?
Valeria.
Valeria? Nice to meet you. Jacob. Take care. Thank you. All right, guys. My sign. They just asked me what's my favorite sign.
Okay, so we'll come back to this. Remember this. You've seen it. I showed it in my other video. Let's go back to these other dopes here.
Witness any of these protests over the weekend? Did you check them out yourself? Go send us an email, freedom@charliekirk.com, freedom@charliekirk.com.
Freedom@charliekirk.com.
I want to know what you saw, what you thought of them, what was your takeaway. Here, I have like a glass half full, glass half empty, and we have more. We're going to get to more of these people in just a second, because there was many examples.
Let's get to more of these people here.
And this guy goes out with a picture of President Trump's head with a target on his head saying, "Wanted, better snipers."
You mean this homeless guy that somebody paid $5 to carry the sign around? This entrepreneur here who's carrying this sign around for $10?
I want you to think about how deranged and sick that is.
That's so deranged and so sick. I mean, this fucking guy right here. He's so deranged and so sick.
And how vile that is.
How vile that fucking thing. I mean, unbelievable. We're cutting edge here. No wonder we got so many views.
And by the way, there was other images.
Yeah, this one, 84, this is the one I took when I was in Santa Barbara. This guy's wearing a shirt that says, "Not today, Jesus. Satanists have more empathy than you."
Boom. Oh, my God. This fucking guy. Wearing a mask. This fucking guy. Not today, Jesus. Not today, Jesus. Not today. How about tomorrow? No, not tomorrow either. What about Thursday? Fuck you. No days at all. Never. I mean, do you think this guy's got fucking friends, right? You think this guy has some influence over, we're fucked. Yeah, great. You realize that people are fucked. The right-wing people, you guys are equally as fucked. You're not less fucked than these people, right? The right-wing crazies, you guys are all fucked.
That doesn't...
These are indecent people.
Yeah. He's indecent.
These are disgusting people.
They're failing...
He's disgusting. He's just so disgusting. He's so disgusting. Like, do they have anybody that worked at this place with testosterone? Anybody. Like, one guy with testosterone. One guy, like, remember I said this, him and his little buddy there, they share, it's two beta males sharing one testicle.
Basic humanity test, basic decency test, and it's really disgusting. So but I do want to hear what you guys think. Send us your emails, freedom@charliekirk.com. But here's my glass half full, is that we know that there was no deal in Washington basically because they wanted this protest weekend to happen, right? The Democrats needed to look like they're putting up a fight.
Okay, so there's no deal happened, so they're not going to release the Epstein stuff and screw Trump over.
Cut 90 if it's ready. Cut 90.
And we might even need to be a little bit meaner because the Republicans don't mind being mean.
And by mean, what do you mean? Do you mean protesting? Do you mean...
Maybe we have to, stop being so nice.
Because you seem like a pretty nice lady.
I'm a pretty nice lady, but I can be pretty mean, too.
People
I can. I've been pretty mean.
The other side are going to say that they feel like the Democrat Party has been mean. Recently, with Charlie Kirk being assassinated,
He's a piece of garbage. Of course we were mean. I am so tired of people saying, "Oh, but, it's a terrible thing." No! Hitler is dead. I'm glad Hitler's dead.
No fucking way. Did she just say that? She just say that, bro?
That's an old boomer, hippie boomer, commie, and she's saying that she's glad Hitler's dead in relation to Charlie Kirk being assassinated.
No fucking way. They said that about Charlie Shekels. I mean, the guy, like, if anything, he was the opposite of Hitler. He was Charlie Shekels. I mean, he did more for Israel than anybody. I mean, at a price, right? I mean, he had to get paid to do it. I mean, he wasn't volunteering for that shit. But he certainly wasn't Hitler. I mean, they didn't say he was Hitler. They said he was Charlie. He's Charlie. She said it was Hitler, but I'm saying he's Charlie Shekels. But if you were really outraged, wouldn't you say something more about this? Like, when you use a C word, like, wouldn't you call her a bitch? Wouldn't you say something like, really be angry? Just sitting there all numb and whatever. She said this thing about Charlie's Hitler. Of course they say shit like that. Charlie was an asshole and you guys suck. All right, let's go to the next. Is there any more of these? Here, let's see these.
That a MAGA granny is the same thing as Hitler, or that Charlie Kirk's the same thing as Hitler, which is what this woman is basically comparing him to. This is really disgusting, and it's a trajectory.
It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. All right, so just like this, I don't know how this thing can survive. I mean, you have to you have to feed the low consciousness people some fucking red meat. You can't just come out here and just be beta males and just read things like this. You have to be like, Charlie was fiery, and he was getting shackled. You're not going to get shackled up like him. You've lost your mojo. All right. Okay, so then there was this one. Elementary school teacher mocks Charlie Kirk's death at No Kings rally.
This is clip 80.
They start off with this guy right here. So, Ellen Jackson Ministries. That fucking guy.
Antifa shirt during the protest, cut 81.
We're wearing a T-shirt that was designed to troll Donald Trump.
Yeah, it said, I am Antifa. And I think a guy from the Daily Caller.
Look at this, and we've covered this before. Look at this turtle motherfucker here. Like, this turtle without a fucking shellless turtle, right? There's some girl here. Here she is. Let's get to her. Boom.
You could not see a single young person in the crowd yesterday.
There was one, and I want you guys to put up the image of Lucy Martinez. So Lucy Martinez is a teacher at Nathan Hale Elementary School in Chicago.
Boom. It's Erika Kirk in 15 years. Or 10, maybe.
And some conservatives went through the crowd, and they started getting taunts from these protesters. And this one is Lucy Martinez. And she started motioning to her neck with a gun and pulling the trigger. And she did it repeatedly. And then the internet did what the internet does.
Okay, so you guys are going after these random fucks, but you won't even look into the bullshit story behind Charlie Kirk's death. This fucking patsy that everyone can see is a fucking patsy. You won't deal with any of that shit, right? You won't say any of it, right? You won't deal with any of that stuff. You're gonna this fucking, look at this. It's like some woman who gets drunk at a fucking wedding and makes a spectacle of herself, right? She does one of those Elaine dances from the Seinfeld show. It's just, this is pathetic people. You're giving them fucking attention, but you won't cover Charlie's, you won't go after this fake fucking story that all your followers knows is fake.
And found out that she is, in fact, a teacher of young kids.
Yeah.
The school has taken down its X account and basically wiped the they've deleted any presence online, including the X page and the official school web page.
Because you guys went after this obese fucking moron, right?
And the school has yet to provide an official response. I think this should be pretty easy, Nathan Hale Elementary School. The answer is we have fired.
So you want to censor her? You want to censor her freedom? I thought you guys were into freedom. She doesn't have the freedom to put a fucking gun to her neck, right? And mimic, when you guys aren't even covering this, is how fake the fucking official story is. But you want to go after her? I thought you guys were into freedom and free speech. That was free speech, but you want her fired for that, right? I mean, Jesus Christ, who would want this woman to teach their kindergartners anyway? But elementary kids, whatever grade she teaches. But she's in room 323. You're not going to go into that 323.
Miss Martinez, for being an abject failure of a human, and we apologize, and we will screen our teachers better in the future. And we apologize for any harm or distress that this has caused the student body.
It's all the student body. The students are so upset about this. The students over there at that elementary school really fucking were into Charlie Shekels and wokeness.
Won't happen again. We're so sorry. And that's all. Just fire her quickly. I don't know what is...
Censor her the shit out of her. Get rid of her freedom of speech.
Take you so long other than maybe you're beholden to the teacher.
Boom. Look at her go.
Union. Yeah, here's the video.
Look at her go. Look at her go.
It's just amazing to
Bang.
watch grown adults
Bang.
behave in such a
Look,
hideous,
she said
disgusting manner.
It's so hideous and disgusting. So hideous. It's so disgusting. I don't know why it's so hideous and disgusting, right? And so, all right. I really want to get to this comment. And so, let's do that. Okay, so today's Thursday, October 23rd. I'm editing this, and I just finishing this up real quick. But I just want to add something here. You know, if Hillary Clinton died, AOC, Nancy Pelosi, any of the underlings, right? Any of these people, the right would be celebrating. There would be people saying, yeah, you know, having parties and doing things. And there'd be people on the internet saying it's, you know, they were killed, somehow assassinated. When Nancy Pelosi's husband, that guy came in, his gay lover, and, you know, they had that dispute, whatever that thing was, right? That was weird. You know, people weren't like, oh my God, this is horrible. You know, this is not what we live in. We live in a very polarized time where people are filled with hatred, and they wish people, famous people, and sometimes people in their own lives, or that those people would be dead, right? They wish those people were all dead. And they wish bad things on them. You know, there's like those old gypsy women or this old, you know, ethnic woman in some country, you know, grandmother's like cursing her grandkids, you know. You know, I mean, people have like negative feelings towards people. And when they die, people don't bum out about it. And, you know, like everyone's supposed to pretend like they care or they're, you know, it's just you want people to fake it. And that's just wrong. And I'm not saying it's okay to wish people bad things on other people because you don't really know them, especially famous people. But they've set it up that way. And so people don't grieve for their enemies, and like there's no reason to even, you know, pretend that that's like, you know, like a horrible thing or that's abnormal. It's not, you know, it's not abnormal what this woman's doing. It's totally consistent with the polarization of our country. All right, let's get into this other stuff here. Okay, so my wife told me about this. I think this is what she was referencing. And then somebody just sent it to me. Don't worry about the gag order in the Charlie Kirk case. I plan to violate it on the world's behalf. The things I discovered in the past week are enough to burn the house down. Yes, Charlie was betrayed by everyone, including Erika Kirk in this. Candace, you better have some shit on Erika because that's everyone. You can't fucking say everyone if you don't have Erika and Trump and Erika Kirk and Trump. And Eric Trump is a good boy.
But I'm glad he acknowledges that I'm a good boy. I am a good boy.
Okay, so I showed a picture of Eminem with Roseanne. And by Eminem, I mean Tom Macdonald. I'm editing here. She says, fuck Eminem. That's why I think I said that. And then there was that other 1950s thing. But anyways, Tom Macdonald and Roseanne. And I said it was AI, but some part of me thought, well, there is a universe in which they could somehow have a relationship. And one of my viewers said something about it. This is, I'm going to get to my voiceover. I already made it, but I just want to add this here. And Roseanne, so, you know, my video, there's a picture, there's a meme of these two together. It's so funny, whatever the line was. But they made a rap video together because, of course, they did. And bap, bap, bap. Screw Eminem, I'm Roseanne. Screw Eminem, I'm Roseanne. And he's pointing to her, right? Boom. Look at this piece of shit. Is there a bigger piece of shit than this guy? And here's his hook here. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad. Woo-hoo. You didn't win shit because you're from Canada, right? You're Canadian. You didn't win shit. You're talking about Trump winning, and, you know, I mean, it's just like immature lyrics. But this piece of shit, you know, he just did a video about Charlie Kirk. And he's found that there's a lot of money to be made in Dumb Fuckville. You know, Dumb Fuckville is right next to Dumb Fuckistan. That you go to Dumb Fuckville and Dumb Fuckistan, and you pander these dumb fucks, they will pay you and they give you money, right? There's a lot of money in, you know, this area. And so, like, he's not, I mean, he's just such a panderer, such a fake fuck. He's not a real truther, not somebody seeking truth. You know, Roseanne, she was part of the truth community briefly, but then she was so egregious on Israel. She was such a Charlie Kirk-like shill-taking piece of shit supporter on Israel that people turned on her. And she got, she got rolled out of the truth community. But for a brief period of time, she was talking about MK Ultra, and she got kicked off her show for saying stupid shit. But she's just an absolute abomination. And for this guy to, she's horrible at rapping. The song is really bad. Like, this is just, this is like an artistic crime. Anyways, here's my my voiceover about somebody commented about the protests, the No Kings protests. And, anything that you do that infringes on other people. Like, you can smoke cigarettes, but the end smoke, the smoke that comes off the end of the cigarette, where other people inhale it, that affects them negatively, right? We all do things that affect people negatively in the environment. We do things collectively that affect each other and, affect all of us and the planet. But when people choose to do something and impose it on other people, then it's a bigger problem than just being, weird and doing your own stuff that people don't, There's some things that don't affect other people, but most things do. And, these protests are one of them. So let's get into it here. Oh, yeah, this is the part I want to show you here. Look at her. Like, just, what are you, fucking 2 years old? What are you, fucking... you're degrading humanity right now with your stupidity and your bad rap. Just horrible, right? There was a big-ass fucking mouth in this fucking piece of shit here. Just absolutely, and it's an abomination. Anyways, let's go to the voiceover of the No Kings protests. So, one more thing I want to say about showed my wife this video. And she pointed out that Roseanne said something about the jab here. Right here. Right there, right? The jab, this is a pro-Trump, pro-Republican, thing, whatever this thing is. A piece of shit thing it is. And, she is saying they try to get her with the jab, which is a Trump shot, right? Trump said he was the father of the vaccine. Trump bragged about it. I have, so many clips of him bragging about it. He was bragging about it even somewhat recently. He was for the jab, and he's against releasing Jeffrey Epstein info and so many other things that should have been deal breakers, but they're not. So there's that, right? But the other thing is, the easiest thing to do in the truth community is to pander to the far-right pretend truthers, people who don't want to change, blame the left. And, there's a huge audience in there, be Christian or be pro-Israel, whatever these things that's not so big a deal now. They used to be a better thing, right? To some members, to some groups of people. The pro-Israel thing, let's take out of that. But the easiest thing to do is to pander to these groups of people. Like, it's, the lamest, they're the lamest, they're not truthers, they're the truther adjacent, and they're opportunists and fucking posers. This guy's one of the worst posers, and Roseanne's just really stupid and obnoxious. And, she shilled up. She took the shekels. She got sheckled. She's Jewish, but she also was promoting Israel like nobody else. And then she just lost her audience because she was too sheckled, right? The other thing is, like, with these protesters, I took a nap, so I'm a bit groggy. But the protesters that did the No Kings protests, one thing that sucks about it is you're just celebrating you're being cucked, right? Because this is, all you guys have. The Democrats have delayed. They're saying the Democrats delayed the passing of bringing the government back in so they could have their moment with these horrible parades. But the reality of the fucking thing is, they have no other solution. They have nothing. They're saying that we have nothing to do in which we can do to beat Trump or stop Trump. These really, gay celebratory protests limp dick protests that we have, impotent protests. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like, if you're cucked that much, like, then you might as well just put your belly, turn your belly up and just take it, right? Like, just pretend, like, or pretend you have something up your sleeve, something that you can do to stop the guy. But when you do something where you know it's going to have no effect on the overall situation, it's like embarrassing. Like, that's all you have. Like, you're basically saying we can do nothing in a political situation. We can do nothing as Americans to stop a king. If somebody wants to be king, they can just be king, and we can't do anything to fucking stop it, right? After hundreds of years of so-called democracy, it's all a sham, but that's not what people believe. Hundreds of years of democracy, Trump can just come in and do whatever the fuck he wants, and we could do nothing. There's no, all the things that were put in the Constitution, all the stuff that was put in there, to checks and balances and shit, there was nothing. It just took one asshole, and that's all. We completely folded, right? We completely folded as a people. Anyways. Okay, so it's Wednesday, October 22nd, this video. Everything else you see in this video is already completed. The last thing I shot was the Roseanne stuff with her and Tom Macdonald, the poser. It's nothing worse than a poser, and I'll get to that in a moment. And so my wife and I just ate dinner, and we were talking about, like, what was left for her to do, and whether I would have enough time to edit the video. It doesn't matter because this video is not going to go up till tomorrow afternoon, so it'll take me about 15 minutes to do the rest of the editing. And so she jokingly asked me if it was going to be a good one, the video. And I said, well, that depends on whether you are interested in hearing me rant for 45 minutes to a person for daring to tell me that they had a good time with their dad at the No Kings protest. We've been joking about the whole thing, but I feel better now. I've been sort of irritable. I did a sitting today, and I just, I was probably going through some cleaning. I don't get really angry, and I get irritated, but there's certain things, everyone has their triggers, and, inconveniencing people and that whole thing, the protest thing always bothers me, all the things that I've said so far, and all the things I'm about to say in this voiceover you're going to listen to. But some of the things I dislike the most are posers, right? Fakers, pretenders. And, if you're insecure and you don't know what to do and you're awkward, socially awkward, I get that because, that's how I am. So if you just don't know how to act and you have to fake it because you're not sure how to act, you don't feel comfortable being yourself, you're in a social situation and you act in a way that is not authentic to who you are because you just are like a deer in the headlights and you really don't know what to do, then I can understand that. Like, I have no problem with that. Or when people lie because they're embarrassed or whatever it might be. Whatever, those kind of things where you're rattled or you're shook and things like that. You can't help those things when those things happen. I mean, you can and over time, but, that happens to everybody. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are just, they don't get it and they can't get it. They shouldn't even try to get it. And they pretend to get it and they don't. And they're making money like a Tom Macdonald or a, Charlie Kirk, and they're taking money and they're shilling and they're just degrading everything with their posing and their low-level consciousness. That's what I'm talking about, right? The other thing is, and social media has borne this out. Like, I wouldn't have known this. It's one of the things I'm grateful for the YouTube channel, is that, with this comment that I'm about to destroy or whatever it is, it's people's need to be seen, right? People think that, in some cases, people think that I'm going to validate them, people who value my opinion and that, my opinion would somehow validate them as people or somebody else. I'm just talking about me specifically, or anybody in social media, and you're putting things out. And if you get so many likes and you get so many whatever it is, it's somehow going to validate you and you want to be seen. You want other people to know how great you are or at least know your story or whatever it is, right? And, it's 100% worthless. It doesn't do anything for you. People think if they're famous and they get adoration, it's going to mean something to them. It's going to build them up, and it fucking doesn't. It's fake. if you don't feel good about yourself, then, and I'm not talking about self-love or any of those things, just, doing the things you need to do. And the only way to feel good about yourself is to find out what your soul's path is and to do it. The Gratefulness meditation, Sajmark meditation that I do, that, that helps dramatically with that. Like, it's part of the purpose. But find out why you're here. Align yourself with the divinity within you and God's plan for you. And then work on achieving that goal, those goals, and that plan. And you'll feel good. Like, you'll just be like, all right, this is who I am and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. The people who feel good about themselves are doing whatever they're supposed to be doing, even if they're playing a villainous role. Like, if Trump is supposed to do God's work by destroying America and doing all the bullshit that he's doing, then he's going to feel good about himself, because that's, even though he's not connected to God, he's not aware of it, he's not, but he's executing the job that he was sent here to do. You have a purpose, you have a plan, you have something you're supposed to do here. And each person can figure that out, and almost nobody ever does, at least consciously. Some people figure it out, and do what they're supposed to do. They find a job and a career and a family they like, but they don't really have the consciousness to understand the, divinity. They don't have a relationship with the divinity within them, but they are, congruent in who they are, right? But if you're, insecure about your failure, you're aware of your failure, and you're waiting for other people to validate you in some way, it's not going to happen, right? Everyone in the world could tell you you're the greatest person in the world and validate your belief systems and tell you how wonderful you are. And if you don't have some congruency with the divinity within you, if you're not on your soul's path, you'll never believe them. And most people are like that. Most people are, they feel some kind of insecurity, some kind of incongruity with what they're supposed to be doing, and they're looking for something to make that go away, and it won't. Like, the only thing to make that go away is find what you're here for and do that and live that life, right? And be that person. Become that. And, there's different levels of it, but as long as you're moving forward, it doesn't matter. Like, because if you consistently do that in life after life, and you're able to achieve that, self-mastery, then eventually you'll reach the ultimate goal, because you're constantly just, putting together the pieces of these various, steps, and, following the path that God's laid out for you. And eventually you'll work your way up or inward until you've mastered yourself, and you'll be able to, whatever it is, achieve what God wanted you to become. So that's what everyone has on their bingo card, right? But anyways, so when there's things like that, when people need personal validation and they think they're going to get something, and they pretend that it's working for them, and that's not so much like a trigger, but it's something I feel the need to point out. And then posers, right? And, these protests, this thing with Tom Macdonald and the thing with Erika Kirk, all these fucking posers, all these fakers, right? And, they clearly aren't people that you should look up to and emulate, but they pretend that they are, and people do. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. Here's the long voiceover. Okay, so one of my longtime viewers, violated a number of the boundaries and rules that I have here by saying this. This is performance fail at desperate TPSU turns to Vanna Guthrie, and this is where I told the story before I covered the No Kings. I told the thing of my personal experience with it, right? I want to share something with you. I know you think protests are stupid, done in dumb fuckistan, and I'm cool with that. So that isn't meant to change your mind or whatever. I just wanted to share. Yeah, no thanks. Like that, why would you think that would be something I would be interested in hearing, right? Because you're telling me I'm wrong, and I'm not. But even if I was wrong, this is just not a part of what I do here, right? Like, I don't debate people, whatever. This is not a feedback loop. There's not, my interpretation of events come from within. They're not subjected to, I am influenced by information that I gather from my experience, but it's my internal reaction. Like, Charlie Kirk was saying something about how Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad. That was the first time I ever saw the guy. Somebody sent me, my wife, maybe somebody sent me a Twitter clip of him. And he was saying something that I agree with, 100%. There's nothing that he was said I looked at the guy and I said, oh, the guy's a piece of shit. I knew nothing about the shekels. I knew nothing about whatever. I could just see this guy's a piece of shit. He's a fake. He's just, he's just, he wasn't spiritual at all. He's not a godly person. He's none of these things. That I was starting to hear that it was all coming out. And I said that to my wife, and she goes, you're sure? And I'm, yeah, I'm sure. He's a piece of shit. And it turned out he is a piece of shit. Not because of what the liberals say or that woman with a gun to her throat or these things, that protester, right? Because, I just have a sense of things. And, if I am connected to divinity within me and I have a clear connection, then it's always right. It's not me. It's a matter of having, it's the Ethernet versus the internet. And it's always more effective. When you can connect to God, then you know what to do for yourself and you can see what things are. You can see through things. And so I'm cool with that. So that isn't meant to change your mind or whatever. I just want to share. I went to the No Kings protest yesterday with my dad. He's a Vietnam veteran. And it was important to him, so we went. It was really nice event. People all ages coming together to say a thing. Will it change the direction we're going? Nope. But I did feel less alone there. I did feel like there were people in the world who care about what I care about. They think martial law is bad. I think it's a bad kind of thing. I'm a MO. There was a thunderstorm, Missouri. I'm in Missouri, and there was a thunderstorm. But still, there was 1,000 people there. Okay, so here's the problem with that, right? Like, I don't give a shit if you guys go to some field someplace and just hang out together and, do your little fucking liberal bullshit, whatever that is. These are all liberals, right? These are people who you agree with temporarily because you all agree that Trump's a piece of shit. But these aren't truthers. These are liberals. These aren't right-wing truthers. These aren't people who are, whatever it is. But the issue here is you want to be seen. Like, you want people to see you. You want to fucking get in people's faces. You want to, celebrate in front of their cars and, yell while they're driving by you. And you want to get in front of their cars and block traffic and inconvenience people. Because that's happened to me twice now. And so fuck all you protesters who inconvenience me because, I don't force myself on anybody. And I don't force these things on anybody. Like, I don't go and berate people and I don't do any of the things that, I don't go. The people that I saw wanted to, in the right-wing people, have the right-wing people force them to hear their bullshit, right? Like, I don't make any of you guys watch this channel, and when I'm interacting with people, I don't impose my will on them and try to force my, whatever it is, right? You can find plenty of people online that agree with you. You can find people who, in the comment section and videos and all this stuff, that agree that Trump's a piece of shit. Like, that, all the stuff that the No Kings thing is supposed to be about. You can go have a party, go rent a fucking park somewhere, some football field that's not being used, whatever it might be. Some park field, whatever. Somebody's backyard. You can do any number of things, but you want to do it in the middle of the fucking city because you want everybody to look at you while you do it, right? You want everyone to see you in your group. That's why you're holding up signs with your fucking beliefs, just like people put stupid-ass bumper stickers all over their car because they want people to, these are my beliefs, my bumper sticker beliefs, and I want you guys to see them and read them. I want you guys to know who I am by my fucking bumper sticker bullshit, right? And the bumper sticker bullshit is a lot less offensive, and it certainly isn't as invasive as blocking people's traffic and then yelling as you drive by them. People drive by you, and who may or may not agree with you. People might be Trump fans, whatever it is, but everyone has a right to believe what they believe, or the ability. I don't want to call it a right. And so you're trying to force that on them. And so I can say this with 100%, in terms of my own internal conviction, that the Sajmark system is the fucking answer. It's the solution, the Sajmark meditation, because it changes people on a level that nothing else does. And it's not the system, it's the, it's how it provides access to the divinity within you through the cleaning process and the transmission process. There's a method, but that method is to help people connect to God. And when you connect to God, when you connect to the divinity within you at a deeper and deeper levels, you rise up to higher and higher levels of consciousness, right? So I can say it's 100% the best system. because it doesn't use materiality, it doesn't use psychology, it doesn't use some fucking gimmick, it doesn't use some bullshit motivation. It helps you connect to the source, and from there you can transform or change anything. There just has to be a willingness on people's part, right? A willingness to change. And I've experienced a fraction of the transformation myself that's available in the system. I mean, it's just, there's just more and more to go. But I have experienced that, and I've seen other people, my brother and other people, people I knew beforehand, and I've seen people who've benefited from it. Miraculous transformation in who they are as people. And, there's, like I said, there's an infinite ceiling. And so it's the best system. And so I'm 100% convinced that it's the solution. And I know people won't take it or won't do it. So I don't get upset about it. I don't fucking stand in front of their cars and berate them, because what the fuck is that going to do? Right? I have an actual solution. I believe it's not my solution, but I have a, experience of something that works. It's effective, but I understand people's limitations. I understand my own limitation, because even the people who have benefited from the system, they don't go all in, or they don't, whatever. They get limited benefit from it. But I talk about it here, but I don't force it on anybody. And so I don't give a shit if you had a good time with your fucking dad, and you found a bunch of people that agree with you, and it felt nice to be with them. Who gives a shit? Don't impose your shit on other people. You're in the middle of a fucking city. There was people walking across the intersection, blocking people. And, it slowed down. There's a traffic jam that was there. These people could have just been on the sidewalk, but they had to push the boundaries. And they're yelling at you. You're driving by the car, and they're yelling their fucking bullshit. Some of the bullshit I agree with, but, it's not fucking something that it's not only it's not effective, it's you want to fucking watch. Everybody look at fucking me. That's what this is about. You guys want to have a party somewhere? Great. That's, I don't, it doesn't affect me. You can post all this shit on YouTube, and people can choose to watch it. But you want to fucking inconvenience people. You want people who are maybe late for an appointment, or, when I experienced that thing years ago, these kids who are protesting no war in Afghanistan, which I 100% agreed with, in a liberal town where everybody fucking agreed with it. And my kids were sick, and my ex was crazy, and, I had to go home from a shitty job where I was working at a treatment center with sex offenders to a cockroach-infested apartment, and fucking stressed out, and these motherfucking kids with their fucking goofy-ass smiles, just like these no kings people. If you really were concerned that Trump was a king, which, a monarch in day one, which he is, in some ways is, and he's trying to push for this, right? And you're really worried about the Constitution being taken down and Trump destroying the country, you think you would do more than stand there with big fucking grins and smiles and, oh, look at how great we are, and look at how fun this is. Like it's some fucking party and how much love there is. You would actually have a real fucking response, right? Like if you really thought Trump was becoming a king, wouldn't you really fucking go do something more than that, right? Wouldn't you have something more than some limp dick fucking protest where everybody's smiling and dressing up in fucking fuchsia hair and bouncing around like a couple of fucking bimbos, right? Like it's just fucking stupid. It's a non-response. It has no effect. And so just like the protest itself, this person has to drop this comment on me like I give a fuck, right? I said that this thing is pointless, and the person agreed with me. It's pointless. It's not going to change anything. And yet they're still commenting to me. Like, but, I had a good time. It was good. It was like this this kumbaya fucking moment. Great. Just don't have it in the middle of the fucking city. And don't leave a fucking comment telling me about it, because I don't want to hear about it. It's just some worthless, limp dick, fucking impotent thing that has no bearing on anything. It's just a bunch of people you want people to see what they believe, right? It's just like taping a fucking bumper stick to your forehead, walking around in front of people and making them read it. Nobody gives a shit about your stupid fucking beliefs. Keep them to yourself. And if people do give a shit, they will find them. People can find you on the fucking internet. There's plenty of places to go. There's all this stuff out there that you guys can find each other and whatever. I have specific rules here. I don't have a complaint department, and I don't want to hear about your bullshit, right? Like, I don't care about my own thing. I tell you about it. And so, this is violating my boundaries. I said, don't bother me. But, the person had to do it. It was really a nice event. People of all ages coming together to say a thing. Will it change the direction we're going? Nope. But I feel less alone there I feel like there were people in the world who care about what I care about. They think martial law is bad. I think I think it's a bad kind of thing. I'm in Missouri. There were thunderstorms, but still 1,000 people showed up and braved the weather to inconvenience other people driving. I got a lot out of it. I don't go to church because I'm not spiritual. I'm missing my kids because they all moved out and are doing well in the world. I have a where is it? I had to switch over to another one. I have a great relationship with my husband, but I really don't have much community. Being there with all those people made me feel better. This isn't going to make you feel better. I don't know why you're fucking telling me this. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear this. I don't care. Like, great. As long as you're not inconveniencing other people, you guys can go fucking keep your goofy no king sign and do all this stuff and deal with your empty nest syndrome and all your other bullshit, right? But why the fuck are you telling me this? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you were talking to me about this, my eyes would glass over and you would see that I'm trying to get out of there. I'm trying to be polite, but I'm like fucking, if I was at a social event, which I don't go to for this very reason, because I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear your fucking problems. I don't want to hear your fucking bullshit. I don't want to hear how you're lonely and fucking missing out on stuff and kids moved out and this thing and you went to this fucking No Kings rally. The fact of the matter is these motherfuckers got in front of the car that was in front of us so we couldn't move forward. And I had to tell these people they were worthless because I was having a migraine. I was kind of fucking angry and, going through my own cleaning process, which I usually wouldn't. And that wasn't going to be effective either, but I felt like doing it because it was fucking funny. My wife and I are still joking about it. So anyway, I realized that the one reason the idiot in the White House was such a cult following is because the insane rallies where generally lonely people found a way to build communities. If those people started to criticize that ding-dong, they lose friends and family and go back into the lonely place that they were before. The reason the idiot's in the White House is because he's doing things that the people who control the system need him to do. And so he was somebody who could rally some groups of people. But it isn't enough. It's a small percentage of people. The reason he won, if he actually won that election, would because they made Kamala Harris and she made herself unelectable. The Democrats couldn't put out somebody that could possibly be like just a normal, regular fucking person. Just somebody who could connect with people. Like neither party has been out to shit out just a human being as a person. Like someone who could just talk to you, even if they didn't do shit, if they were just a reasonable, rational person, like any number of people who have podcasts and could talk to you like a human being and can be authentic. They don't have people like that in politics. So they just handpick whoever and they do whatever they do, but has anything to do with voters and rallies and fucking building community. It has nothing to do with MAGA or any of these other things, right? The MAGA people are to scare the Republicans to believing that if they go against the MAGA people, they're done politically, and then their bankroll is over. And so the person says they might start to condone things they normally wouldn't do for fear of losing those connections. I don't know if that's right, but if something that came up for me while I was there and I wanted to share it with you. Yeah, that was a mistake. I'm not the sharing type of person, right? The reason I say only spirituality will save this world because I fucking believe it, right? And so, to me, there are people who are connecting to the divinity within them, and there's everybody else. And the people connecting to the divinity within them, there's a spectrum. There is levels to everything. Levels to commitment, levels to spiritual approach. But as long as you're moving forward in this direction, there is some hope for you and some hope for humanity. Other than that, it's people going in the wrong direction. I don't care about community. I don't care about any of that bullshit. Again, people have their material lives. They have their personal interests. They have the way they like to spend time. They have their need for community and relationships, all that kind of stuff, the human stuff. But that's not the problem now. We have spiritual deprivation. Like whatever you're doing with your free time as a human being and whatever you're trying to do, there's a lack of faith. There's a lack of that God has a plan. If you believe God has a plan, then you have to submit to that plan, whatever it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, the death part. I mean, all those kind of things. But, in terms of what I do here, the only interest I have is in people having some interest in making that connection. Really, it's making that's not oh yeah, I'd like to, I'll think about doing that someday, right? Someday I'll do that, right? Someday I'll I'm still putting that on my list, right? Whatever. You can connect to God right now. Like people can connect to the divinity within them right now. There's the Gratefulness meditation videos that I have. The channel, it's free. There's no, strings attached. There's nothing. People can, use it, not use it, whatever. It can work. It can not work. It's out of my hands, right? That's between you and God. But having worked as a counselor in the psychological field and going through the counseling process myself and, changing a little bit. I had a counselor who was a medium too. She was a MSW medium. She was a licensed counselor, but also a spiritual person. And, it led me to doing the Sajmark system. And whatever small changes I was able to make, whatever realizations I was able to make through the therapeutic process, were minuscule to the kind of things that I endured to help me change in the spiritual, doing the Sajmark meditation. But, that's the solution for me. And, the other things are just all window dressing. When you're admitting that it's not going to change anything. Like you're sitting there with a bunch of fucking boomer hippies and you feel some sense of well-being because you're around the people with like-minded beliefs, but you guys are all full of shit, right? Like you're all full of shit because you're making this about Trump. Trump isn't the problem. You remove Trump. I mean, Trump is a unique person that they've been able to jam a lot of shit through with him. But there's bigger problems. You get rid of Israel, you get rid of Trump, you get rid of Biden, you get rid of whatever. All these people, they're just, other demons that'll take their place, right? Like it's not just a singular issue. It's not just the getting rid of the deep state or these other things. And this idea that it's somehow external to you, why not get rid of the Donald Trump inside of you? Why not work on removing the part of you that's like Trump? You can't call somebody an asshole if there isn't an asshole inside of you. Like, where's your reference point, right? My brother once said, there's some guys, I guess he was kind of Christian, and they were playing basketball, and my brother called him an asshole, and the guy's like, your kids are here, and you're calling bad names, you're setting a bad example for your kids, and my brother said, well, no, like, I'm not. My kids are going to meet a lot of assholes in their life, and now they have a reference point, right? And so, my brother's pretty fucked up anyway, but this is kind of funny. But the reality is you have to have something inside of you to identify it. There has to be a reference point. Like for all the evil that's out there, you can't see evil if there's no evil inside of you. You can't feel hate for something if there's for somebody or some external thing if there's no hate inside you. And so, these are the things that have to be changed. You're expecting that other people should change. I mean, that somehow getting rid of Trump, then that will change things. Like, what's your responsibility in changing? I say this over and over again. People don't listen to it, that's fine. But don't bring me this other bullshit that shows me you're not listening. Like you're not listening because you're saying something you should know I don't want to hear and don't care about, right? Like you doing some limp dick fucking impotent thing and inconveniencing other people and justifying it because you felt good about it. If the civilization's collapsing and we are going to bad times in a monarchy, then, why not go inside and say, what can I do to make this better? I mean, because that's just one small problem. Humanity's fucked. Just go anywhere and look at people and you're like, holy fuck, what's happened to us? Right? Go to Walmart. Go, like all these people at the protests, all these people everywhere. Like this is what humanity's become? Like why are we still here? Why are we still allowed to be on this planet? We're an abomination, right? And so, what can you do to change that about yourself? Like that's the stuff that I care about, like in terms of, but even when I hear about that, it feels good that people are actually, participating in that, but it's really between them. Like they could be lying about it. Like, I don't know, like, it's just each person has to do this for themselves. And it's not something you do in front of other people. It's not something you can display to other people. You do it internally. And so it's the opposite of protests. Protest is going out to the material world and having a tantrum about things that you can't change and nobody gives a shit about. But you can change stuff inside of you and make the world a better place. But nobody fucking wants to do that. So, that's why we're going over the fucking cliff. And so go over the cliff in silent. I want to hear about it, right? Like, I want to hear how great it is as you fucking go over the cliff, how great your thing is or how wonderful your fucking protest is or whatever it is. When you're acknowledging it isn't going to do shit other than make you guys feel good that there's other people like you, a lot of fucked up people like you, right? Okay, I think there's just some dumb fuck stuff to get to here. and then we'll wrap this one up. This person, these dumb fucks show up. This is Erika Kirk, another performance fail, desperate TPSU turns to Savannah Guthrie. Devil horns, are you so uneducated guessing is the reason believe conspiracy theorists to be mentally ill, to be mentally ill, I think the person meant to say, with a weird emoji, like an open mouth emoji. He says, Bill, I guess the person's supposed to be crazy. You just make shit up. Yeah, like you can't even speak English, right? It's just, and then the person said, you are a hater of the lowest form personality disorder, dude. Up your meds. Okay, what personality disorder are you talking about? Like, you know nothing about, is it borderline personality disorder? Is it narcissistic personality disorder, right? So, and explain your evidence. Like, what evidence do you have? That you're upset, that you're butthurt, and you're too stupid to articulate your fucking sentences? And then the person writes, 20 minutes of yammering, God. That was I'm going in reverse order. And then the person says, yawn, learn to speak. And then another person right below that says, your channel picture is Jewish. You sound possibly Jewish. Small amount account pushed to the suggestions multiple times. It's a little Jewish. Is it? Like, this is the kind of comment I like because, like, I know that I'm not, right? Like, I grew up, I ate the wafer, I'm a Catholic, there's no Jewish ancestry. I came from 4 Catholic grandparents. My mother's mother was an orphan who was Irish Catholic, and she grew up in a Catholic orphanage. My grandfather was a German Catholic, not practicing. He was my favorite grandparent. My grandfather was Sicilian, Italian Catholic, and his wife, my grandmother, was Albanian Catholic. And so there was 4 Catholic people. Not that I'm, proud of the Catholic religion. My mom was very religious. My dad wasn't. And so there was no anything else. And those are my genetic ancestry. But, I've been accused of this before because there was some person that said, this is back when I responded to comments. I go, my last name's Romano, you fuck. It's a Sicilian name. And the person goes, well, there's some Sicilian Jewish people. I'm like, yeah, there's all over the world, but the majority of Sicilian people are Catholic, Italian people. That's like a thing. Like, it's fucking the Catholic religion's right there in Rome. But in that, I'm not any of those things. I'm not Catholic anymore. I'm not any of those things. I'm not American. I have that on my passport or my whatever, my citizenship. But in terms of what I am is a practicing person of the Sagmark system of spirituality. And, that should be clear to everybody. The guy who started me was a Jewish hippie. He was a preceptor, that started me. He was no longer Jewish because he ascended out of his religion. There was plenty of people who were Indian, Hindu. Some of them were Muslim. Some of these other people, they were no longer their religion. When you become a spiritual person, you leave your religion behind just like Jesus did. And so it's very clear that's what I'm fucking passionate about. And I talk about that all the time. So I'm not Catholic. My family was Catholic. But even if I was any of those things, I'm clearly not that anymore. Anybody with 2 fucking cents could see that I'm actually passionate about this thing, or not even passionate isn't a good word. I'm committed. I'm committed to doing the Sagmark system and meditating and connecting to the divinity within me. That's what I believe in. The spiritual path, right? And so, if you can't see that, holy shit. Again, sometimes people just react to, superficial information. They don't go deep into a video. That's fine. But, pretty funny either way. Oh, here, there's an end to that comment, the long comment. The person said, they might condone things that normally wouldn't for fear of losing their connections, those connections. This is a person, this was a long comment originally about the protest. I don't know if that's right, but if there's something that came up for me while I was there, I wanted to share that with you. Anyways, I am grateful for your work, Paul. Thank you. Well, you're not, because you wouldn't have fucking said something that was counteracting what I was saying, right? Well, the person wasn't even contradicting what I was saying. They're saying, yeah, you're right, this was totally pointless. It wasn't going to change anything, but it made me feel good to be around other people. You know, it was like you had to out yourself as a protester. Like people, I criticize something that you're doing, and you know I'm right about it, but then you still have to say, hey, you know, I did this and it was pretty fun. Like, what? Why say that? I don't care. Obviously, I'm not loving the protests because these people were in my fucking way, right? Selfishly, they were inconveniencing people with their bullshit and being all happy about it. Like, you know, this is a party. Like, this is, if it's a no kings thing, then it should be like, fuck, this guy's going to be a king and they should be serious about it. Then come up with a fucking legitimate plan that can work, that has some merit in it. But, you know, the system is collapsing. You see it on every level because human beings are fucked and we're going in the wrong direction. And that's been happening for, you know, centuries, thousands of years. You know, we're becoming less, and not in a good way, not less ego. We're becoming more ego and less of, you know, natural, normal human beings, what it is to be a natural human being. And, you know, in that, I mean, even the native peoples and people who are in tune with nature, they weren't connecting to divinity the way they needed to. There was no movement upwards. That's why they were absorbed historically. That's why all these Aboriginal tribes have ceased to exist or, you know, exist in any real way anymore. You know, there's little pockets of them, and you know they're great in terms of being human beings. You know, human beings like a human animal, in terms of like connecting with nature and being a part of the symbiosis and these things. And they did a great job as being stewards of nature. America was a pristine place because of the native peoples, and there's a lot of, you know, good things about that. But they weren't moving along their spiritual approach. They weren't evolving spiritually, and so that's one of the reasons why all this shit has happened in terms of the global community. Like the opportunity to share information and have something where you're moving along your spiritual path and you're going, you know, not just on a horizontal, you know, with a good spiritual condition, good natural human beings like animals, you know, who are just living their lives instinctually and whatever, but not moving upwards, not moving closer to God, not evolving, not exploring your full spiritual potential that's infinite, right? And so that's one of the reasons why things have gone this way, because people just won't do it, because people are indulging in the pleasures of physical life and are oblivious to their spiritual destiny and their spiritual needs. You know, I've said this before, all the material stuff, you could be the best at any number of things. You could be a great person. You could be full of accomplishments. It's all limited to the material sphere, where the spiritual sphere is infinite, and there needs to be some kind of a balance. And, you know, when your system's collapsing the way it is, there should be there should be some part of you, at least some people, not everybody, because some people are just fucked, right? They're just walking corpses. You know, they're just waiting for the, you know, angels to come take them away. And they're not angels. But whatever they think, right? They think it's going to be angels, but it's just going to be, you know, mired down in something because they're not ready to move, you know, be a part of the solution. But there's going to be massive depopulation, so there are a lot of people, they're just NPCs. They're just not a part of the next phase, and so they don't need to do shit because they're not invited, right? You don't have to prepare for a party you're not invited to. And your invitation's based in your own, you know, your own commitment to whatever you're doing, what you're capable of doing as a person, as a spirit, as a soul. But, you know, I'm very clear. I don't want to hear about, like, you know, I'll mock shit and, you know, I'll cover shit here. But I have very little interest in all this stuff. Like, there's time, I kill time watching stupid sports or watching whatever the new, you know, whatever I turn on, movies, whatever, you know, like just taking a vacation from the fucking reality, whatever it is that we do. I mean, I don't play video games or do any of that stuff. But, you know, there's just all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean anything. It has no merit, right? Like, it doesn't, you know, it's not really interesting to me. I mean, the collapse of humanity, that's funny and, like, interesting. The apocalypse is funny to me. But what I'm really interested in is people who are waking up to what's going on and are changing and adapting to be a part of a pocket of a future, right? That's, in terms of this, whatever I do here, that's what I care about. I don't care about what you do to fucking make yourself feel better. Yeah, it's lots of shitty things. People are lonely. They're sad, they're miserable, they're fucking whatever, right? Well, it's a depressed. Everyone has their way of coping, and that's great. I don't care, but I want to hear about your fishing story, or unless I did, because I'm more interested in animals and things like that. But other than that, I don't care. I don't, there's no reason to tell me that something that is just everything that's wrong with America and Americans, like these dumb No Kings protests, in a response, Trump is a complete nightmare. The people, the powers that be that are propping him up, and the stuff with all of it. And you got nothing, as Democrats, that's all you got is these limp dick protests. It's pathetic. It's just, that's your response, right? You're not even rising up to the guy's dropping shit on you in a fucking clip he puts out on Twitter. That's how much he cares about your protests, right? He doesn't give a shit. And the people that running the system don't care. It's a, non-effectual type of situation. And so, it's something to be mocked because it's a great pumpkin thing. The same way I mock the Trumpers with waiting for the great pumpkin, that the Cubies, they're smoking their hopium. You have to come up with you're a human being with infinite potential and divinity within you. People come up with solutions all the time. People make inventions and they solve problems, and you guys can't solve the problem of Trump. You have nothing. You guys have fucking nothing, right? There's no, you don't have any kind of way of solving it. And so the only thing would be then that he's doing God's work and that this system's coming down for a fucking reason, and the system's being brought down just like all the dumbass fucking truthers and right-wing people. There's no making America great again. That this is something that's, better off disappearing altogether, the system, and we should all be working towards figuring out what our part in that is, in a post-apocalyptic situation, and what we need to be doing internally to prepare for it. That's the stuff that I'm interested in terms of the pockets of the future stuff. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pouring from the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.